So the next operation we are going to see is edit. Let me show you how it works. I click on edit and let's change it to tiger and let's change the number to 5 and I click on update. So that gets updated. So if I see the table and here's the updated value. So right now we are implementing this edit functionality manually, but later on for all these CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete, we'll use a library called Prime Faces. It's a very good JSF library, lots of controls, and I'm sure you'll love it. So first of all, the functionality is implemented in your bean. So in the bean interface, we create a new method, update animal, which takes an animal, and the implementation merges the entity. Now let's see what happens when you press the edit button. So the button is over here. This is the button. Do not worry about this button right now, update right now, just see this button. We'll speak about this button later on. So edit button over here has an action attribute pointing to select for modification, and the value we're passing is the entire item. Last time for delete we just passed its ID, right now we are sending the entire entity. So that method is defined over here. This is that method. What this method does is it just assigns the animal to a field name selected animal, which is defined over here. And we have also changed the scope from request scope to view scope. This is because we want this item to remain as long as the user is on this page. So view scope, as you know, exists as long as the user is on the same page. So what is happening is when you click the edit button, we go over here and this method gets called and we are passing the entire item, the item being this item which has been selected, and over here we just assign that item to selected animal. So selected animal basically contains the row which has been selected. So after this we go to the index page, and for each column we have two tags, output text and input text. And the output text and input text are never shown together because they have inverse rendering. So the input text is only shown when the items equals selected animal. So when the item equals selected animal, we show input boxes, and the output text is shown when item doesn't equal selected animal. So for all remaining rows we show output text. So this is our output text and this is input text. So before we move ahead, let me just remove this input text because I did a mistake over here. You shouldn't ever be changing the animal IDs. So instead of, you should always be showing an output text instead of input text. So let's change this, and over here let's remove this rendering because we are just interested in showing the output text, nothing else. So basically whatever item was passed over here is now used for displaying whether it's an input text or output text. Whatever item was passed has been saved over here in selected animal, and that helps us in displaying either an output text or an input text. So each input text is value bound to properties of selected animal. So whatever changes you make for this row are saved in this selected animal instance, and when you click the update button, the action attribute of the update button is executed. So over here modify animal gets executed, which is defined over here. So what this method does is it uses our injected EJB, which is over here, and calls the update animal method passing the selected animal. If you remember, selected animal has all the changes because all the input text fields in index.html had been bound to this instance. So after this we get all the animals and assign it to the animal list because we want to show again the modified values like this, right? So we want to show the modified values, and then we make the selected animal as null and we return null so that we remain on the same page. So now we have implemented delete functionality and update functionality. So instead of doing these things manually, you can opt for a very good library called Prime Faces, and if you see the showcase, it has lots and lots of tags. Just for data table we have so many options just for data table. So let's select row editing, and you can edit your rows, and the code as well as backing bean, everything is given properly. Not only this, controls are better looking than what we have seen in JSF standard library, but these controls are also much more powerful than what we have seen. So it's highly recommended that you go through this library. So there are selection, you can do sorting, filtering, lots and lots of things. Lazy loading, which is a very important functionality. So you can sort this got sorted according to this. You can filter like this, let's say 2004, and it got filtered. Just to make you understand what lazy loading is, imagine our example. So in our case, in our init method, which is annotated with post construct, we called this method get all animal, which retrieved all the animals from our table. So if there are millions and millions of rows in a table, then your server memory can get full. So instead of this, you can use lazy loading. Lazy loading only brings the rows which are going to be displayed. So at the time, only this many rows come into a server memory, and when you page ahead, much more rows come from the database. You can also select a row, and that gets displayed in a dialog box over here. So the dialog box is over here, that has been displayed using Ajax. So this tag we are going to see later on. After understanding the standard tag, you'll be able to easily understand this p-ajax tag of Prime Faces library. And if you decide to use some controls from this, you can download this documentation, which is over here, and it shows you many options and attributes related to all the controls which have been used in Prime Faces. And things like calendar control over here are going to be used many times in your web applications. So basically a good collection of controls. Accordions we have, and lots of things, color picker, editor. So you do check this library. So using Prime Faces is very simple. You just have to add this repository, and you have to add the dependency. So over here in our pom.xml file, which is over here in our project, we first add the repository over here, and then we add the dependency over here. So after this, do this. Right click on a project and select build with dependencies. This will download all the dependencies which we have just mentioned in the pom.xml file. So over here, here's where my dependencies got downloaded, and later on, for using the tag, you have to first put the p tag over here, which is the standard, you can say, convention for using Prime Faces library. Your NetBeans ID does provide IntelliSense for this, so if you remove this and select control space, you get all the libraries available to you. So let's select Prime Faces over here, and then we selected one tag out of this and displayed it. So let's see how it displays, and here's that editor tag. So just to show you, there's another tag I used, calendar, and that's displayed over here. So you can select a date. So if you don't like the default look of your controls, you can always use theming. So you can select some standard themes from this drop down menu, and it's a bit similar. So there are many themes available. How to apply themes is mentioned in the documentation or the Prime Faces user guide.